Looks like we're live.
All right. All right. Yes. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome to PARSIQ's introduction to Reactive Network. Of course, Tom is here with us today. We're new as well. For those of you who might not be too familiar, I'm Kai. I'm the CEO, the new CTO. Tom's the founder of PARSIQ, and we want to talk about the Reactive Network, which we actually announced a couple of days ago, and say that this is the kind of direction that we want to go towards. There's been a lot of questions, mostly centered around the tokens. We received quite a number of questions about tech as well, which is great. So I think we do want to talk about why are we doing this, what are we doing this, and what's going on. So without further ado, we actually have a list of questions that we received before, and the team actually helped us gather it. So what we'll do is we will go through the list of questions first in the chat. We'll post it in the chat as well. And from there, we will actually, so that everyone would know like what's the sequence like and how we're going to go through the questions. But beyond that, I think we should still have some time, and we'll take any other questions that's going to come in our comments as well. So I think while the team is actually posting the questions in the chat, we'll probably just start with the first one first. And how this will be done is basically I'll ask the question. I might give my answer, or I might ask Tom or the new to add to it. And again, they can come in anytime they want as well to add to what I'm saying. Some questions which I feel perhaps either of the two can better answer for us, I'll ask him to ask as well. So questions for the AMA. First one is basically what are the strengths of the reactive network? Is it like another layer 1 or layer 2? So when we posted our very short one-page summary, if you guys notice, if you guys actually look at it, a huge part of it is just this is our intention, this is what we're trying to build. There is a portion about the coin, of course, but the coin is really a small part of it. The coin facilitates the whole thing. So why are we doing this? What are the strengths? What is it for? I think we want to be very clear about why this is being done, and basically, is it like another layer 1, layer 2? Off the cuff, I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. Tom and Daniel, please feel free to come in to add to it as well. But essentially, it is a data layer. It is built like a layer 1. Anyone can build decentralized applications on it, yes. But the key difference is it enables reactive smart contracts. So what do we mean by reactive smart contracts? That's why the name is Reactive Network. It has never been done before. Right now, in this space, if you're building smart contracts, by the name of smart contracts, is basically using code. It will react, it will pull different functions together. But because right now on EVM, you can basically publish data. You say that you do this, but you can't exactly subscribe to data yet. I.e., you cannot listen in to say that I want to listen to this 5 different smart contracts. And if they happen, I know on a smart contract level and instantly react to it. So those functions are not there, and we want to build that. Essentially, we want to be the data superhighway for EVM blockchains. So that's the strength of Reactive Network. That's also why we are saying that it's technically not just a layer 1 or layer 2 blockchain, but it is built from a technical standpoint as a layer 1, because that's the way at which we deliver this technology, at which we deliver these functions. After studying this, we feel that there's no other way to go about doing it. If we do it off-chain, in fact, right now we can deliver certain functions like that off-chain, which is based on our data lakes power and our Tsunami API. But if you want to do it on-chain, this is the way to go. reactive network is the way to go. And why must we do it on-chain? Because it enables a next level form of autonomous, reactive, instantaneous response on-chain. Once you pull data off-chain and you want to process it and then you come back on-chain to sort of respond to it, there is always a lag. And this is something that we want to push through. So this is first question. I'm not sure if Tom and Daniel wants to come in and sort of explain this even further from a technical standpoint.
I don't think there is exactly a lot to add in this sense. In my personal view, it's sort of a combination of layer 1, layer 0 with, the usual properties of layer 1, transactions and gas and everything, and with some additional functionality which is enabled by reactive smart contracts, which is probably the biggest concepts of which we're introducing. And then, of course, as it evolves further, a little, down the road, when it's actually able to communicate cross-chain as well, it kind of becomes a layer 0 hub between EVM networks out there. So it's like not even necessary for apps themselves to be on reactive, but they still use it like as a brain, right? As the connection point, as you say, data highway throughout all supported EVMs.
Yeah. So Reactive Network is it's not meant to compete with other EVM compatible chains like Avalanche or Polygon or anything similar. Although it does have a similar functionality. Anyone deploying there can deploy their contracts and dApps on Reactive, but that's not our goal. It's not to compete with them. They all have their own advantages, disadvantages, could be speed, cost, scalability, throughput, whatever. Our advantage of the reactive network is we are extending the functionality of EVM. As I mentioned in the PARSIQ Telegram chat a couple of days ago, smart contracts don't have the ability to subscribe to third-party events, and the initiator, needs to pay gas. So because of the modifications we made, this is now possible. Reactive smart contracts are now possible. And this is an extension of EVM functionality, pretty much. So it's not competition. This is the first reactive EVM to my knowledge. And personally, I am super excited because if you think about all the concepts like that we've built, the company has built over the years, like smart triggers and the data indexers, the data lakes, Tsunami, and other things, they are all being used here. And in a way, this is the natural evolution of those concepts, only on a blockchain native level, in a decentralized manner. So I'm personally think this is it. This is the end game for the things that we've been building, to put it onto an open network and for everyone to build on a smart contract level. Personally, I am super excited. So I think this can be used in a variety of ways that we'll get into when we get to other questions.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel and Tom. So I think this is also the best time to go to the second question. Can you take a real-world use case, existing app or smart contract, and explain reactive smart contracts end-to-end? I think I have a few examples in my mind, but I was thinking perhaps Tom and Daniel may have one to paint a Web3 example first. I have an example that is a bit more Web 2 or not Web 3, and I want to talk about it at the second part. So that really paints the strategic picture we are dealing with here, so that you guys can understand like why exactly are we doing this. Perhaps Tom or Daniel, you guys want to start, or especially on the Web3 front first?
Yeah, I probably can start with kick it off. So like there are multiple possible ways there. From one point of view, we've been in data game for a while now, and we've been approached and have approached a lot of projects with very different needs. And I wouldn't say it's every second customer, but still there is a lot of demand just to have on-chain automation, and that on-chain automation means that there is like smart contracts of some protocol. It can be DeFi, NFT, it can be any kind of protocol. And when users do something on chain, they want to, with certain conditions, to kick off new transactions, call their own, smart contract functions and stuff like that. It doesn't even matter what they do. The thing with that it is a pretty common use case generally, and to achieve that right now, it is a pretty complex task. You either have to use some multi-part computation to sign the transactions, or you have to do your own off-chain logic, creating a couple problems about both data trustability in this sense and this of the sign-in transaction, so the security question. And this is applicable to various different use cases, and this is just one. Then we also see like how the market evolves, right? And we see like Uniswap kicking off such a thing like hooks that is basically overcomplicated reactive smart contracts, in the sense that it's just one protocol like Uniswap, but they had to implement this logic in their contracts for their contracts. And this is of course not universal solution. Anyone who wants to implement similar logic have to implement it themselves. And in case of Uniswap, it's like liquidity management and various different things. But besides that, what we also think, like, except for the closing the use cases that the clients ask for, or just popping up on the just generally on the market, we truly, or I truly believe that like asking what's the use case of reactive smart contract is a little bit like asking what's the use case of a smart contract, because I think this can actually create a whole another, not market, but set direction of the projects, and the use cases will be the use cases that we have never thought about, exactly like it was with the smart contracts. Because yes, there was concept of decentralized application, and now there is a concept of reactive decentralized application, and it actually can bootstrap the whole new universe of projects. I think I've spoken for way too long.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel. I think Daniel painted a really good sort of picture around Web3, and what I would like to add is really the commercial side of this. From the very beginning, we were talking about us bridging Web 2 to Web 3. And I think with all the questions about tokens, a lot of people forget that that's what PARSIQ is trying to do. And this is actually what we're trying to do here. So let me explain a little bit more. So what we're essentially building is a Web3 data superhighway, call it whatever you want. It has a few things enabled. It has smart contracts that can react to other smart contracts on its chain. And it has relay networks that can react to things happening on other chains. Essentially, we are building a proof of concept for the wider world out there and telling them that they don't have to understand blockchain or Web3, but here we have something that can exactly solve a very common problem in the wider commercial space, which is we do not have a standardized data layer across different data sets that can tap in real time, at once, instantaneous, and reacting autonomously. Not all industry need it, of course. Certain industries, probably a standardized Web2 big data set will suit their use case. In fact, it'd probably be faster. But there are a few industries that need something like this, and we have already identified them, and we want to start working with them long term to really bring it through. So there is the commercial side of things, and there is the Web3 side of things. Part of the reason why we feel that this should be done, not just because it's a natural progression in terms of Web3 technology, but also this is really the manner and the technology that we can bring to the commercial space. Right now, when you come to the commercial side, when you're talking to finance or logistics, they're not going to listen to you because all they care about is like, you guys seems to be speculating on assets, etc. What's this technology going to do with me? But what we are building is something that they will want to look at, because essentially, if we can connect all the various different data sets from different blockchain ecosystems together, we are proving them that you don't need to understand the tech. It's too complicated for you anyway, but you know the end outcome. And are you interested in the end outcome? And this is what we're going for them. This is a very big real world use cases, especially in finance, especially in logistics. And that's something that we want to pursue. So hopefully that's those are the two key answers to that questions. The next part is what will the smart contract language looks like compared to the standard Solidity? I think for this part, I'll leave it to Daniel. This is definitely his stuff.
So it will be Solidity. The smart contracts will be the usual smart contracts with full backward compatibility to existing smart contracts. It's just there will be some additional syntaxes to create reactive smart contracts, and that's basically it in the sense. So everything that worked on EVM all the time will still be working on the EVM, like normal EVM, the usual stuff. And then there will be some additional syntaxes for reactive smart contracts, but it's not going to be, a whole excess of new syntaxes. No, there's like a couple modifiers to say that the contract is the reactive smart contract, and will be some syntaxes to subscribe to specific contracts and events, but then from there it's just the normal Solidity with all its functionalities.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel. I think we can go on to the next one. So will React be similar or competing with Chainlink's CCIP? So I think this part Daniel probably can add to it, but perhaps I can start off by saying that no, because essentially they are built for completely different things. Chainlink CCIP, they are very clear. They are not a layer 1 or layer 2, but they are built to be the universal bridge across all the different EVM or beyond EVM blockchains. So essentially, they want to bridge everything and basically be the asset bridge. We don't deal with assets. Right now, asset bridges on blockchain, how they work is they lock the assets on one chain and they create a copy on another, and so that they can be easily traded. You have to view from it, from a physical standpoint, they are basically still imperfect in a sense, and Chainlink recognize that this current method is imperfect, and they're coming in to try to solve it from the assets point of view. We are coming in from the data point of view. So each blockchain is essentially a data island. Right now, how we can bridge all the various different data sets from all the different blockchains together is to pull it off-chain, sort of what we're doing right now with Tsunami API and the data lakes, pull them all together, allow our clients to study it, and if they want to respond based on the amalgamation and the standardization of the data from off-chain, then they go back to on-chain, on whatever chain that they want to respond to, and do it. And essentially, we want to do everything on-chain. It allows the old technology, Tsunami API and data lakes, they still have its own users. We'll talk about them later. But essentially, React is to bridge that gap in the data space right now, because all the various blockchains are not talking to each other from the data level. And we want to bridge that. So we are not dealing with assets, we're dealing with data, we're dealing with information that's actually being conveyed here and there. Next, is there a path for existing smart contracts like, say, AAVE to use Reactive Network and convert to reactive contracts on Polygon? So perhaps, Denis, you want to tackle this question first?
Let me try. I don't fully understand that, but I can speculate a little bit. So I think some parts of it was answered before as we had this conversation. So reactive contracts is not the replacement of the normal smart contracts. It's faithful sidekick in a sense. So there is no need to convert smart contracts from one network to another network, because they are fully compatible with each other. But if we take some of the protocols like AAVE, in this example, they are deployed on multiple chains, and they could benefit from cross-chain reactive smart contracts to always know what happens within their contracts on various different chains, and they can take different actions in that, so to manipulate like liquidities and these pools and everything. So I mean, a lot of things can be done, but there is no need to convert contracts to reactive just out of nowhere, basically.
Yeah, thanks so much. Perhaps I might add to it. So for basically a DeFi platform like AAVE or anyone actually, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, they don't have to create a copy of it on our chain. They can, and of course we welcome them to. But essentially, they can just deploy a reactive smart contract on Reactive Network that pulls all the data across all of their copies, basically, on the various blockchains, so that they can react. And it's not just them. Anyone can. Do you want to front run? Do you want to arbitrage? You can front run it. You can react directly on our chain, and not just on our chain, but on all the various blockchains as well. That's essentially what the Relayer network is built for. It enables you to detect changes, events, especially big events that you want to know, and react accordingly. Oh, if there's a big sell order coming, I want to do it at the same block. Or there's a buy order coming, I want to do it before the buy order comes in. That sort of stuff. And anyone, especially developers, can actually build that onto our chain. And your core product, especially if you're AAVE or Uniswap, you do not have to build one on us, but you probably need to have your reactive smart contracts on us so that you can react across the board. It will benefit your original platform, whether it's on Polygon or on Ethereum or any of the other blockchains. But at the end of the day, you use us as a data layer. So next question, will the data flow between reactive smart contracts be based on decentralized governance, or will it be centralized like Tsunami API? The whole chain is decentralized. It is a decentralized blockchain. There'll be validators. There'll be all of that. So I think it's quite clear that this will be a decentralized function. Is on-chain, it's purely on-chain. So I think this is really true. Yeah,
I can add a little bit. So this is exactly the purpose of the Relayer network, and this is like a consensus layer of data flowing between the chains to make it trustworthy. So we talked. I think I saw one of the questions like how you can make sure that the things are not being tampered with, how I can trust the results, the outputs of the reactive network and corresponding components. And the thing is that basically the idea is that anyone will be able to participate in the relayer network. That is the kind of consensus mechanism to agree on which events have happened and which have not. And of course, including the usual mechanism of of the nodes or participants of the relayer network who is not being trustworthy. They will be slashed, their staking will be slashed, they will be removed and banned, and stuff like that. So yeah, we in this case try not to rely on any centralized parts, because it kind of diminishes the point of doing all of that.
All right, let's go on to the next question. So how will reactive network be applicable for the wider economy, especially non-Web3? I think I touched on that earlier on what is it going to be used for, but actually I do want to share a little bit more on this. Earlier I gave an example of a sort of non-Web3 examples using, I mentioned about finance, I mentioned about logistics. But right now, I think most of you are working in the non-Web3 space. You will know as well, whether you're in the industries or you're in the banks. There are certain industries where the blockchain trilemma actually can help solve the problem for you already. Obviously, in a private industry, they don't care about decentralization, but that means they care about scalability and they care about the security of whatever data sets that they're dealing with. And blockchain actually helps solve it for them. The key question is, if it is really so good, why haven't we seen such a big adoption of the technology yet? They are trying. It's not like they are lack of trying. Banks are looking into it. Industry are looking into it. Shell, Anglo-Dutch Shell, the oil company, they have actually a blockchain team building some stuff for them. But at the end of the day, you don't hear about it and you don't see it, because fundamentally, I think there is a certain mismatch in terms of the technology and how it can solve their own problems. And we believe that with reactive network and with the technologies that we're building today, this can really be solved in terms of a commercial use case. Just imagine using logistics as an example. From the point of production, wherever it is, it could be an item, it could be a service, to going through all the various layers in between, being transported, whether it's digitally or physically, all the way to the end user. And the end user might not be like the last guy. The end user might sell it on to someone else. You want to track. You want to make sure that the right places are going to the right place at the right time. You want to make sure you reduce fraud. You want to make sure you reduce wastage. And you want to make sure that things get to places just on time. And right now, there's a lot of inefficiencies in the wider market, even for huge companies like Amazon. And blockchain is here to help, but only if blockchain can solve some of the problems, like it being reactive. And that's what we are building it for. This is why we're doing this. It will be huge on Web3, but it will be even bigger in the commercial space. This is why we're doing this. Perhaps the Tom or Daniel, I'm not sure if you guys have further inputs, or if not, we can go on to the next question.
No, I think you covered it well. I mean, a lot of the, let's say, these are blockchains we're talking about, right? So they are Web3 in this sense by definition, in a way. But there are a lot of things coming from the traditional industry to be put on blockchain rails, whether it's real world assets or anything else. And all of these applications can be made reactive, which extends their functionality and opens up possibilities that were not there before reactive network. That's the main reason, or the main, let's say, near term use case that I see. But beyond that, what Bronkai covered as well. Let's go to the next one.
All right. So how will Tsunami API, data lakes, etc. still work with React? Will they work alongside React within its network, or will it be separate? So perhaps let me give just 1 or 2 sentences before I ask Denis to share more. But essentially, the way we see it right now, we are pulling data off-chain, combining it off-chain, and providing it to our clients from there. Will it still work with React? Technically, that functions. We can just support React Network, and the whole thing can still run in terms of Tsunami API data lakes. What's important is that the use cases will be enhanced by Tsunami API and data lakes in terms of what we have. Why do I say that? Is because smart contracts, they respond on-chain, they respond everything effectively. That actually reduce a lot of some of the use cases that like some of the data load that Tsunami API and data lakes are dealing with right now. But in the longer term, I see them both as complementing each other side by side, because at the end of the day, while you can react and you can pull the data and read the data directly on chain, it depends on the use cases of you. If you're using, if you are, say, a dApp builder, you might want to pull the data off chain as well and do your own analysis, or push it to a webhook to do something else. And I think that's where the commercial part of Tsunami API data lakes still complement the new technologies that we're going to build on React Network. So with that, not sure, Denis, do you have anything else to add to this?
Well, I might. As you said, those are kind of complementary technologies, and they actually solve very different tasks. And Tsunami data lakes, they still have their own space in data market and data game. And what is truly complements the tech, like from the things that we have developed, is our PARSIQ block tracer that actually powers the entire Tsunami API and data lake, and everything along these lines, this ecosystem. And at the same time, it will power the relayer network to have this trustless network of data validation. And we actually aiming to make the block tracer open sourced and available to anyone. So basically any node can participate in the relayer network, and anyone can participate in the relayer network being connected to any node. So this is like more of a long-term goal, but then this one of the things that we have already developed, and that powers the strength of the reactive network.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go on to the next one. How will VCs help exactly, other than more funding? That is a very good question.
Pick it up if you want, Ronkai.
Yeah. Let me Tom, you can start.
Yeah. So venture capital firms. If you, in general, when you think about investment into crypto platforms, decentralized networks, startups, doesn't have to be VCs, right? So you have venture capital firms, you have angels, you have other types of contributors. What do they provide? They provide funding, because a company needs a runway to build out technology, maintain it, and further develop it. And in the case of Reactive Network, the scale of it is quite big, and the ambition is very far-reaching. What else they provide is always there's usually some value add, and unfortunately not in case of every investor. But for some investors, especially, I've seen it with angel investors, The value add is advice, feedback, and their network. Their network through which this technology can be adopted faster and can get the necessary exposure in the right developer communities.
Thanks so much, Tom. I think just to add to what Tom was saying, especially the network part, VCs provide that sort of access. I mean, not just VCs, of course, but anyone who invests with us, they give us the access that we can't get on our own alone. We have our own networks. I think some of you was mentioning that, hey, the BD teams, they have been going out there, they have been liaising what's like, and we have been building a network for 5 years. Yes, we have been doing it, and we have been expanding it as much as we can. But VCs basically shorten the kind of time we need to do that immediately. And the more sort of stakeholders we sort of include into us, tie them to us a little bit, helps boost the sort of success immediately off the cuff. Their network basically means that they invest in 100, just in one single VC. Maybe they have 100 portfolio companies. They just need to send a message, hey, talk to PARSIQ. And straight away, we get 100 sort of chats. Not all of them may become clients. Not all of them might build on Reactive Network in this case. But that already helps shorten the kind of BD runway, sort of pipeline that we need to get, because straight away we cut short the kind of initial outreach we need to actually do. Straight away they will talk to us because their VC told them to. And it's the same case for us. They do the introductions, we do it for them. So basically, it's a lot about tapping into the inner networks that we can't gain access to otherwise. A lot of cultures have some sayings similar to it, but in Singapore, and I think in Asia, there is a saying that fertile waters do not flow into someone else's farm. And what does it mean? It just means that they will try to keep the money within their own ecosystem. VCs invest in 100 companies, they would rather the companies pay each other with the same amount of money in terms of different services. And that's what we want to tap into. And in the longer run, in terms of us commercializing our technology, that's where their networks really, really help us. None of us have a lot of network with logistics or finance. And I think this is something that they can be really, really helpful for. All right. So next question, Tom mentioned the launch to be done within 3 to 6 months. Is this timeframe definitive? What form will the launch be? Is it testnet or mainnet?
Since I've been name dropped here, right? So I feel like I need to clarify certain things. So what I said is stage 1. Now, stage 1 is the chain, the EVM chain, based on Reactive EM with reactive smart contract functionality, with reactive smart contracts. So we are not talking about the cross-chain layer, the layer network yet. This is stage 1. Yeah, well, this estimation is it's a rough estimation, and it depends on a number of factors, including technical blockers, funding blockers. But this is the estimation we have. I don't know, maybe Danny or Ronkai can want to add something here.
I think perhaps Danny, do you want to talk about perhaps testnet, mainnet, the angle first before I wrap it up?
Yeah, there is the thing that Tom mentioned that is very important here is that the tech blockers, they appear out of nowhere, and especially with the developing a new tech. But I really hope that we can deliver in this time frame, like 3 to 6, like 1-2 quarters. We can deliver the first version of the Reactive Network. And as Tom mentioned, yes, this is a first small yet very big step. And from there will be a lot of problems to solve. But we've been thinking, even though the stage 1 is not even yet out, we're already thinking how we're going to solve, stage 2, 3, 4, 5, and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom and Daniel. So just to add to this, I think one of the key things that I have been talking about strategically is that we have to launch with basically like what Tom was saying, like stage one, where we need to have that functionality where people can test out reactive smart contracts. Else to everyone else, this is just a layer one. And I think that would not be a good launch. It has to be something that developers want to come in and try it out and test things out. Even if it's not yet connected via relayer networks with all the other blockchains yet. So we are building a new tech, we are building something really amazing, but it takes time for us to get to that stage. And until that is sort of unlocked, where we enable something revolutionary, the so-called launch wouldn't be out there yet. But I think that's 3 to 6 months timing is sort of taking that into account. And next, so what can PARSIQ tell us about the new React coin supply and distribution? So I think for the next few questions to talk about the coin supply and coin questions, I think let me start off on this, and of course Tom and Daniel can always come in and chip in as well. A few terminologies. This is a coin. This is not a token. So what is a coin? A coin is basically given to the native, basically a coin, native token, but it's not a token, it's actually a native coin. It's called a coin. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, for example, they are called coins because they form the native fungible tokens of that network. They are the native gas supply. And what we are building is a coin. So what about that supply and distribution? I think from the very beginning, we have been talking about there are certain things that we need to calculate and we can't give you the answers yet. And there are a lot of things that we will share when the time comes. So for now, what we can tell you is this. I think at launch, the new initial coin supply will not be at launch, of course, of Reactive coin supply. It will not be more than the full PRQ supply. I think that is for sure. Because right off the bat, we have ICO, we have you guys coming in, and every block when we generate and we authenticate and we validate, there is going to be block rewards, and it will slowly increase. There is a fixed, fully diluted supply of this network that we want to build. But we want to build it, I think we've already mentioned it in the community chats. Guts Barrett, some of you might not have heard it before. We want to build it as if this is like Bitcoin. So, which means that we need to sort of plan out supplies that would last for 100 years or more. And it will basically run out of validation rewards by 2150 or thereabouts. That basically means that we need to make sure that a huge bulk of the token supply is secured over there. The rest of it goes down a lot to the community, the developers, basically ecosystem building. We need to set aside money in the form of the coin to make sure that listing is taken care of, liquidity is taken care of. So all of that has to be planned in advance. And it's something that we can't give you an answer right now because it takes time to build. And even if you guys chase us, we are not going to rush this because we are very serious about this. If we buckle under pressure and we come up with something that doesn't work, best case scenario, we have to change it again. Worst case scenario, we doom the project before it even goes live. So we need to do this very, very seriously. And that is what we can sort of cover in terms of the coin supply and distribution. Perhaps Tom might want to add more to this.
Yeah, I think it actually ties in well with the next question. So I'm going to just pull it up as well because it sort of covers the same big topic. So why do we not use PRQ as a gas coin for the new network, even if it means adding new supply to PRQ? So PRQ is a token. React is the native cryptocurrency coin of a decentralized blockchain network. And these are different things. Tokens like PRQ could be launched on Reactive Network. projects who build dApps, products, everything can launch tokens, NFTs on Reactive Network. This is a completely different ball game in terms of supply mechanics, distributions, and so on. As you can see, it's going to be a hard capped POS, so proof of stake chain, kind of similar how Avalanche has or Polygon has. So they also have a capped supply, and all the additional inflation, it's over many years for securing the blockchain. So it is impossible to do like with the same token, because it's not a token and it's not even a dApp. This is a whole cross-chain network with its own EVM chain. So it is impossible. And I don't think people really realize the difference here. This is not launching just a new product. This is a whole decentralized computing network with brand new functionalities that didn't exist in the EVM ecosystem yet. And it cannot have the same token or the same supply or any of the same properties.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I think if I may just add, when we first look into this, and we looked into this a long time ago, one of the things is like, yeah, we're going to use PRQ, and but once we go to the technical details, then we realize that, hey, we can't use PRQ. PRQ is an ERC20. Do you guys know that Ethereum, for example, is not ERC20? So that sort of paints a picture that, okay, this is going to be different. This has to be redesigned from scratch. And the token supply itself, because we need to reserve a huge amount of coins for blockchain validation, straight away the entire supply structure is different. And I think that's something that you guys need to understand. We're still calculating. I don't think that the details will be out so soon. Back to the previous question. But I think once it's out, I think we will give very clear timelines to let you guys know when it will be shared as well. I think one of the questions sort of touched on that. I will share more of some of the timelines later. But I think perhaps perhaps you want to talk more about it from the technical standpoint, like what's the difference and why React versus PRQ?
I mean, you guys covered a lot of it. The reason why it's, maybe I will add a little bit on the reason why it's not, calculated yet, or why it's not out yet, is that unlike just the usual blockchain EVM things, and the usual blockchain EVM thing is having the validation layer that rewards you with the native coin, native currency of the network. And there isn't a lot to, I mean, there is a lot of balance to make it like, economically viable. But apart from that, in addition to the fact that we have to calculate that, so to make rewards, not useless, we also actually have to balance it with the not just validation, like proof of stake layer, because we also have relayer network rewards, and we have the reactive smart contracts that also require, rewards for those who validating these reactive smart contracts, which is likely to be like a whole separate process. So instead of balancing economics of just one component, we actually have to balance economics of 3 different components within one same supply. And that's why there is no rush in doing so. Because making a mistake there will cost, a lot, and will cause some actions that will be very unpopular with, decentralized world, like, changing and hard forking the chain and making some controversial changes. And they will be like, any change you make, people will complain about that. So no matter what you do, even if it's in sake of making the network or cheaper or better, it will be taken as controversial, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. So yeah, this is my 2 cents on that. It just needs a lot of variables to be taken in.
While we're on the topic of the token, the coin, I just wanted to bring up the token utility, a discussion that's always been out there for every cryptocurrency project. And so PARSIQ in its classic form with the smart triggers, the platform, the Tsunami API, the data lakes, it is a centralized B2B, B2D software product or a range of products. It is very hard to tie meaningful utilities for the token to such products, and it's you can see this from pretty much all other projects who have centralized aspects or even decentralized projects. If you think about it, 95% plus, 99% plus of the projects do not have any meaningful utility for their token. What is in my opinion, the number one uncontested best utility model and value accrual model for a cryptocurrency or a token or a coin? It is basically the ETH model, the proof of stake, where you have fees being burned and you have tokens coming into circulation as validator rewards and eventually becoming deflationary when activity threshold is met. And this is the best utility, in my opinion, the only true utility model for a coin. And this is what we're going for, because any other models will be extremely limited in their value accrual and usage. This is not. So yes, there will be validator rewards every block, but you also have activity happening and you have fees with the coins being burned. So once there's a certain level of activity and number of transactions, React becomes deflationary. So supply will contract. And why would there be activity and why would people come to build something? Because this is the only platform that has reactive functionality. I think this should be the maximum possible model for a token utility, a use case, and a value accrual.
Thank you so much, Tom. So I think we really covered quite a lot about the tokenomics, so to speak, and the utilities surrounding React and why it has to be used rather than PRQ, why we redesign everything from scratch. Perhaps we can move on to the next question. I think
there are actually two questions regarding IQ protocol, so I'm happy to cover them.
Yes, please go ahead.
First one is, will PRQ staking for IQ to airdrop end with the swap or continue with React token? How will the timeline fit in with IQ to airdrop? It will definitely end sometime before the launch of Reactive Network's mainnet and the React coin, because I think the understanding of people that PRQ and React are interchangeable from a fundamental perspective is wrong. One is a token built on a blockchain, the other is a native coin of the blockchain. So you cannot apply the same mechanics and use cases to them. It will end, and definitely when the snapshot is the final calculations are taken for the IQ airdrop eligibility, the announcement will be made. And the second IQ protocol related question: would it be possible to allow a direct swap through IQ protocol? Would save on a lot of transfer headaches, bridging risks, and fees. So it is possible to to provide bridging. I mean, React will exist on its own chain, so you need bridging. You cannot have React without bridging to the Reactive Networks chain. But it is possible to, in addition to doing a bridge for swapping from the Ethereum chain to React, also from BNB, so that people would not have to withdraw from IQ protocol, bridge to Ethereum, and then swap. They can do it directly from BNB. So this is definitely a possibility. And the last IQ question is, PRQ was planned to be used in IQ protocol. Will React have any use in IQ protocol? No. And again, we go back that it is not a token. It is not a token. React is the native cryptocurrency coin of the blockchain, of the whole network. So it will be used for staking, for validating the network. It will be used as gas fees. It will be used as relay network rewards and a bunch of other things. So it will not be used in IQ protocol. However, IQ protocol may have use for the reactive network. If there are interesting use cases we're exploring where reactive functionality could be beneficial for some use cases, and it is possible that IQ protocol will deploy on the Reactive Networks blockchain.
All right. Thanks so much, Tom. And I think this is the last of the received questions. We sort of come close to the end of 1 hour, but we probably try to answer a few of the community questions below before we end off. So let's try to answer this. What can PARSIQ tell us about the PRQ to React swap? So from trading, exchange listings to any terms around the swap. So I think we have to study the exact implementations. I think previously we have been relatively consistent on it. I think on a technical standpoint, Daniil already shared some of the things he really need to do. And of course, those were a previous question on other technical front. But even for this as well, we need to look at the impacts on the ecosystem. And so everything that we say now is actually subjected to change. We have the broad idea about it, and I think we've shared in so many details in the chats already. I think one of the key thing also is that we have received quite a lot of abuses for being transparent. But I think we have to be very upfront about this. We don't want to bullshit you guys. We can say something as a placeholder, but if we say something and then we change it, I think that's even worse. And that's not PARSIQ. So we are straight talking tech building folks. That's what we want to do. So if the details are not there, they are not there because they need to be calculated, and we will share on it when it is done. But I think what we can share on this question alone is a few things. We want to share on our intention. I think PRQ users we want PRQ users to benefit from the new upside and the new tech. We want PRQ community to take part in this new ecosystem because this is the next level of innovation that we are building. In terms of exchange listing, we have previously shared some of the intentions. Again, it depends a lot on the partners on the other side as well. So once we actually goes down to business of talking to the exchanges, etc., things might change, but we need to coordinate across multiple exchanges. So we will get it done, and we'll talk to you guys once we have more details. Another important thing is that trading liquidity-wise, we will of course set up from day one to have sufficient liquidity. It's actually an item in our coin distribution planning. We want to make sure that we have set aside stuff like that. I think it's very important for you guys to look at this like, okay, this is a question, and PARSIQ doesn't have a lot of answers for it, and we have been upfront about it. Yes, we do not have the answers because it takes time to calculate. I think at this point, I also want to share a little bit more as well. I think we've received more abuse than warranted. Someone actually threatened to sue us for starting this React network. Firstly, I don't think there's any legal standing for such an approach, but we also do not want to waste time either. Our priorities is to make this React network succeed. And I think we really want PRQ holders to join us on this whole journey. I think once we have calculated the details, we will share with the community. very likely the timelines I have in mind are of cross-reference with Tom and the new sort of around there. There are two key timelines that you guys want to know around the coin. In terms of supply distribution, likely at the end of the year, you guys will hear something. Second part is more on the technical details around swaps, exchange listings, etc. This is definitely down the road. Ideally, I want it to be around the start of Q2 2024. But again, the closer we get to the launch, whether it's testnet, mainnet, technical problems that the new needs to solve, on our front, Tom and I, we need to talk to a lot of exchanges, our partners, etc. Once we have those details, we can share it with you from there. So at the end of the day, this is our position, and we've been very consistent about it. We are not going to rush it just because someone from the community, they are token holder of X amount, and they want to rush us. We can't push it. We have to make sure that the details are done properly so that the whole enterprise succeed. So for this, we want and we hope for you guys to understand. I think that's very important. Secondly, I also want or wish for the community to really come forward and support this and voice out your support for what we're trying to do. I think rather than Tom or me or the new talking about it on the chats, we'll share as much details as we can, of course, but we don't want to argue these kind of finer details. I would prefer for community members who believe in what we're doing in the first place to come out and speak up for us as well. Like, hey, this is what we've already shared. At the end of the day, not everyone will listen to this. Not everyone will have seen all the posts that Tom or the new or I or any of the members have typed on Telegram or other channels. And I think with you guys' help, you can actually spread the news further. You guys can help address some of the questions of why are they doing this, because they didn't listen to this. So I think that is where we can all succeed as community as well.
I know we are sort of out of time, but if you guys have another 5 minutes, maybe we can just take a 2 to 3 community questions that came in live here in the chat. I'll just scroll down and take some interesting ones.
All right. Will us as React holders be able to become validators? So I think definitely the new can share a lot more, but it's the same issues for any of the proof of stake validation setup. Right now, we need to set it up first. We need to put in the technical requirements. But I think we want it to be as decentralized as possible. That's the whole point of us doing it. It should be relatively easy to set up. You don't need to buy an entire warehouse of servers just to do this. But at the end of the day, in terms of validations, that's the whole point of the token as well. You stake it. If you can't do it yourself, you stake it with any of the public validators, and you actually get a slice of the reward. And then you probably can share more on the technical details too.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about proof of stake here, not proof of work. So it's the game of staking, not the game of power. It will be working as the normal proof of stake validation network. And basically anyone can participate as a React holder. So the same as ETH holder or Matic or AVEX holder. You just take it and you participate and you stay trustworthy. You don't produce false data and then you're not getting slashed and the usual stuff. So the short answer is yes.
All right, let's look at the next question. So I don't get the tech side. Can you explain it simply? Does it pull data from, say, ETH and play it back before it's confirmed to allow you to react faster to things happening on Ethereum? Perhaps then you can reply this one.
Danny, you there?
Yeah. I was rereading the question. So this is all a very good question for a little bit later stages. So the data will be delivered by the relayer network, and the data will be validated, but
maybe we should start, and simplify it from the very beginning. So what exactly does it do, right? Like from a smart contract perspective, and then go to cross-chain only. I can go.
all right. All
Yeah.
right. Do you want to go?
I can go.
Then do.
Okay. So basically, Ethereum and EVM smart contracts, someone has to initiate a transaction for the smart contract to execute certain logic. And the initiator also has to pay gas for this to happen. And what does this mean? That means if you want the transaction, the smart contract logic to be executed, you directly interact with it, or someone has to directly interact with it. Now, what we did here with the modifications of the solidity language on which smart contracts are written and the Ethereum virtual machine is that the smart contract can subscribe to events of other smart contracts, which is not related or does not interact with the reactive smart contract. And if something happens there, it executes a certain logic. This was not possible, and it goes against all kinds of, let's say, the current architecture of how EVM is. We have found a way to modify it that will allow this. And it will also allow, not for the initiator, because there is no initiator here. There are like third-party transactions which help, which trigger the execution of the reactive smart contract. The smart contract has its own balance with gas, the React coin, and it pays gas itself from that balance, which again is not possible in your standard architecture. This is kind of, I hope that was a little bit understandable, but this is the basic logic of the chain. And the idea is to bring that functionality cross-chain using the relayer network. So everyone who is part of the relayer network would listen in using their nodes and the PARSIQ block tracer to transactions happening on other chains, and would allow reactive smart contracts on our chain to get the events from those chains, and eventually also execute logic which broadcasts transactions to other chains. I hope that was simplified enough. I tried. I don't know, Danny, you want to add something?
Not really. Yeah, you're much better at explaining technical things easier, and I'm very confused when I have to go. Don't go into details.
All right. Perhaps we can take one last question.
One last question. Let's see. What value do you think would be a fair valuation for React on launch? Well, I think it's too early to predict this. But not speaking about Reactive Network or Reactive EM specifically, but if you look at how layer 1 networks are being valued, layer 2 networks are being valued, layer 0 networks are being valued on the market, even in this downtrend, I can get the basic idea of that range. And that becomes especially kind of noticeable when you go to the layer 0 part, which is cross-chain products like Chainlink, CCIP, Layer 0, and so on, all command multi-billion-dollar valuations. Now, that does not mean that each product will get to that valuation. But this is a general range that you can see from public markets that blockchain networks are valued at, and cross-chain networks. Reactive is a bit of a different value proposition than any layer 1 or layer 0 networks. So we will, I guess, it is to be seen how the market will value it.
All right. I don't have anything to add to that. I think Tom really covers it pretty well. I think at the end of the day, the market determines the valuation. We think it will go up way higher, but at the end of the day, the value of it will constantly go up as more and more people use it. That's the whole point of a network.
Exactly. The success of any blockchain network depends on the execution. So if it gets adoption, it grows. I think we can all say some summary ending thoughts. I can be first. So this is a pretty big step, and I understand this is a big step for the community, for everyone, but these technologies built over the last 4 or 5 years, taken to an open, decentralized computing platform and enabling reactivity, I think this is worth pursuing. And we have, Danny and his team created the best architecture for it, to make it possible. All the current solutions for reactivity, interactivity, mean like off-chain, multi-party computation, they all have their drawbacks, like security concerns, additional development work, not scalable or applicable. And we've seen that reactivity is clearly needed from the clients who used PARSIQ's smart trigger platform in an off-chain manner, and with Uniswap now with their hooks. And this is a way to give it to everyone, and this couldn't be the only platform providing it. And that's not mentioning that the coin will have the maximum model of utility and value accrual that has ever been invented in this industry. I personally think this is the kind of final stage of PARSIQ's initial vision of triggers and data reactivity and automation, only put on chain, available to everyone, and on all EVM networks.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom. If I may add as well, I think this is really the next stage. Basically, technology that we're trying to push in this space. When we talk about Tsunami data lakes, there are of course things that can be improve on that as well. And actually, we're still working on it. It's not like we are dropping it, because those are key parts of our products, so to speak. But in terms of overall technology, we're trying to do something here that no one has ever done it yet. Has there been people who attempted before? Probably. It's not an absolutely new idea, but for 8 years, no one has solved it yet. 8 years of the existence of Ethereum and its entire ecosystem. So this is something that we really feel that we have a really good shot, and I think we have the prerequisite technologies now to make it happen. If a year ago you asked us, just when we were launching Tsunami API and data lakes, we would have said that, no, I don't think we can do that. But I think now it's different. And this is something that is, I think when we talk about both from a commercial space in terms of our vision and mission, in terms of token or coin utility, everything fits this. This React network is the future, is the direction that we want to go for. So for you guys who are in our community, you have been looking at us, we want you guys to join us. And that's something that we have been saying from day one. At the end of the day, it's your choice. Do you want to join us to try this out or not? Something that we've never attempted before. And I think this is something that I think we hope that you can look at the tech and the kind of vision that we're trying to build, and look at the team that's trying to build this, basically us, and ask yourselves that, hey, should you join us in that? And perhaps Daniil, floor is yours.
There isn't probably too much to add from like my perspective as a CTO and a developer generally. I'm just very excited that now at this point we can actually take the bunch of technologies that we have developed over time, and then had its own ups and downs in the sense, like just throughout their life cycle, let's call it this way. And now we can combine these technologies and expertise that we've been building for all the years, and we can combine it into sort of a ultimate weapon. And at the same time, this is very cool in the sense of absolutely unique value proposition to the market, because there are other data providers, there are other notification platforms, or whatever it is, right? There are others, and in this space there are no others, and we will be kind of first movers there. And this can create the whole direction. We can give this first push to this market and see how it goes, and try to bring as much value as possible, not only by doing great job ourselves, but by actually starting this movement and by doing the first steps and doing it better than the others.
Thanks, guys. I actually wanted to propose we end here, but Brian Ortega, longtime community member of ours and supporter, I think he posted this question for a second time. So, maybe, will some investors be interested in buying React be required to buy PRQ tokens from the market? After all, this is on a pre-ICO and the price is expected to be much higher. Look, no one can advise you or anyone else on pricing, but it's possible that some people might purchase PRQ for to sort of front run the launch of React, and instead of like venture investors or private round investors be liquid and not blocked for 3-4 years. So it is possible. Other than that, the future is bright with PARSIQ. So thanks, guys. Appreciate the time, and thanks to the community for bearing with us.
Thank you all so much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you, and see you around. Bye.
Bye.